I remember walking out of the 2021 Baylor Bears at Texas State Bobcats football game after a narrow victory for Baylor pretty well. One thing that stands out in my memory is overhearing some Baylor fans joke, "That's going to be the only game we win this season." We now know just how incorrect that joke really was, because this Baylor football team that was predicted to go 4-8 by ESPN and Bleacher Report would exceed all expectations this season. The Baylor offense will be led by a couple of inexperienced players. Quarterback Gary Bohannon had served as the backup to Charlie Brewer the previous season, and running back Abram Smith played as a linebacker the previous season. Their best receiver coming into the season was Tyquan Thornton, who in the 2022 NFL Draft Combine ran a 4.28 in the 40-yard dash, so that guy can move in a hurry. Baylor's season began on the road in San Marcos, Texas against my Texas State Bobcats. Both of these teams were coming off of weak seasons, Baylor doing so in the Big 12, while Texas State only had 2 wins in the Sun Belt the previous season, so this game was stuck on ESPN+. Baylor was 14-point favorites coming into this one, but didn't play up to even that standard in this contest. They held a 4-point lead at halftime and let Texas State hang around until the last minute of the game, where they had a chance for a miracle drive to tie the game. That miracle did not come true, and Baylor starts off the season 1-0. This was the first game of a 3-game series between these two universities. If you want to learn more about the final game of that series that happened in 2023, check out my video on the 2023 Texas State season. The next game of the season was the first home game of the season, and it was against FCS Texas Southern. And look, I can't tell a story about every game. Baylor completely dominated their opponent in this one, winning the game 66-7. This same reasoning applies to the next game of the season at the Kansas Jayhawks. Kansas was in the middle of a simply horrible stretch of seasons here, including not having a victory over another FBS program since October of 2019. Baylor again completely dominated in this contest, with the final score being 45-7. Don't feel too bad for Kansas though, as this happened later on this season.
Daniels, flushed. Daniels, end zone, caught! Kansas wins it!
3 games into the season, and Baylor has 3 wins. Great start, but their 4th matchup saw them come across their first big test. This game being at home against Brock Purdy and the Iowa State Cyclones, the at the time ranked 14 team in the nation. I wonder what Brock Purdy is up to nowadays. This game was on Fox, so many people were getting their first look at the team this season. Iowa State started off this game with a long touchdown drive on their first possession. Thankfully, Baylor was able to respond with a touchdown of their own, even after this fumble scare in the red zone. The Bears did well to force a punt on the following Cyclone possession, and as we continued in this game, Baylor was able to adopt a bend but don't break mentality on defense by allowing Iowa State to drive, but forced them to settle for 3 field goals while scoring 3 touchdowns over the same period of time. Baylor's offense relied on the big play with 2 30-plus yard touchdown passes and a kickoff return for a touchdown by Ebner, providing the scoring in the second and third quarters. In the final couple minutes of the third quarter, Brock Purdy was able to find his tight ends to bring the ball downfield before handing it off to Breece Hall to cut the lead to 5 points. Baylor gets the ball back, but the Cyclones quickly force a 3-and-out, where the Bears were lucky to even hang on to the ball. Purdy gets back to work to try to take the lead and gets off to a strong start, leading the Cyclones to the 22-yard line until...
Backfield on play action. Purdy has it tipped and intercepted by Baylor!
This interception neutralized the game a bit, with both teams taking turns punting the ball back to each other. Ebner puts his stamp on the game again by returning Iowa State's punt to the 16-yard line. After failing to gain a yard, Isaiah Hankins nails a 34-yard field goal to bring the lead up to 8 points, which is importantly still a 1-possession game. Iowa State marches down the field with a slow, methodical drive, which included this absurd play where Purdy barely manages to avoid a sack and toss it up to his running back for a gain. On first down with 31 seconds remaining from the 16, Purdy avoids the pressure and tosses the ball to his running back Hall again for his third touchdown of the afternoon. 31-29 Baylor. It all comes down to the 2-point conversion. One opportunity to stop the Cyclones and secure the victory. Game on the line. Let's see it.
For Baylor. They dropped the snap. Purdy throws off his heels. And it's intercepted.
Purdy has trouble with the snap and heaves it to the end zone where he is picked off. One last onside kick recovery for Baylor, and the Bears have started off the season 4-0. In winning this game, Baylor won their first game over a ranked opponent since 2015. Remember when I said Baylor was predicted to win 4 games this entire season? Well, they have already matched that expectation only 4 games into the year. Interrupting the story for a moment to request that if you are enjoying this video so far, that you would please like this video and that you would please subscribe to my channel. Alright, back to it. The number 21 ranked Baylor Bears are on the road to take on the number 19 Oklahoma State Cowboys. To start this game off, Baylor didn't exactly play like a ranked team with a 4-0 record. They allowed the Cowboys to score a touchdown on their first drive and trailed 14-0 at the half. On offense, Baylor possessed the ball 6 times and punted the ball away 6 times. They only kept the score manageable due to intercepting Oklahoma State QB Spencer Sanders twice in the first half. The third quarter started off similarly, with 2 more punts by Baylor and another interception for the Bears defense. Abram Smith finally bailed out the Baylor offense by scoring a 55-yard touchdown to make the game a 1-possession contest. A Cowboy field goal and Baylor touchdown later, and the game is now 17-14 for Oklahoma State. Their next 2 possessions, they came up empty, and the Cowboys were able to score a touchdown with a minute left to ice the game and hand Baylor their first loss. First loss of the season, but the team showed resolve to stay in it after a rough first half, and their next matchup is back at home in McLean Stadium against 2-3 West Virginia. The Bears got this one started the right way, with a catch and run from the speedster Tyquan Thornton. Baylor kept this one going in the first half and went into the locker rooms up 28-10. The second half was more of the same, and the team from Waco won this contest 45-20. Bohannon was outstanding this game, throwing 4 touchdowns and gaining 336 yards through the air. Halfway mark of the season, and this team is 5-1. Already exceeding their preseason expectations, and they still had a lot of football left to be played. Back at home next week, and this time the visitor is BYU, who had recently accepted invitation to the Big 12, but are still playing in this season as an independent school. After a 3-and-out from both teams to start the game, Baylor got the ball and drove the ball down the field to the 6-yard line, where they had a 4th down opportunity to score. They decided to go for it, and unfortunately, Bohannon threw it into traffic in the end zone, and the ball was picked off by the Cougars. This didn't stick with them though, as Baylor scored on their next 3 possessions to take a 17-7 lead. They added to this lead in the second half with a strong rushing attack, gaining over 300 yards on the ground before they finally won this game 38-24. 6-1 now, and back in the top 25 at number 16. After 7 games, Bohannon has only thrown 1 interception all season. 3rd game in a row at home, now going up against the Texas Longhorns under then first-year head coach Steve Sarkisian. Texas had some crazy star power on their offensive side of the ball, with running back Bijan Robinson and true freshman wide receiver Xavier Worthy, who might just be the fastest player to ever play the game of football. Baylor starts off with the ball on offense, and after a completion to R.J. Sneed, it looks like the Bears are in business. Now, from midfield, Bohannon drops back to pass and is picked off for only the 2nd time all year. Texas would take advantage of the momentum they created and score a touchdown on their drive. Baylor then went on a long 5-minute drive and capped off the possession with a little trickery and a touchdown of their own. A Baylor field goal later in the first gives the Bears a small lead, until Xavier Worthy shows off the previously mentioned speed and scores on a 63-yard catch and run touchdown. The score would remain 14-10 for the remainder of the first half. only the second time Baylor trailed at the half so far this season. However, that first time was against Oklahoma State, who they ended up losing to, so they would need to break that trend and make the comeback in the second half against the Longhorns. Texas didn't make it easy to begin the half, taking over 6 minutes off the clock en route to a touchdown to extend the lead to 11 points. Down 21-10, and something has got to change. Alright, you ready for it? Something changed. Baylor scores 3 touchdowns in a row to take the lead 31-21. Texas then gets a field goal to cut the lead to just a touchdown, and after a Baylor punt has the ball with around 2 minutes remaining. Time to see if Texas quarterback Casey Thompson can get the job done or if Baylor can get the stop. Baylor forces 4 straight incompletion and secures their 7th victory of the season. Also, to add insult to injury, here is another reminder of what happened to Texas later this season.
Daniels, flushed. Daniels, end zone, caught! Kansas wins it!
Next game is on the road up against TCU in the Revivalry. TCU is 3-5 and just fired their legendary head coach Gary Patterson, so it should come as no surprise that Baylor lost by 2 points? Wait, hold on, did I check the right score? Yes, I did? How did this happen? Well, TCU quarterback Chandler Morris threw for 461 yards and rushed for an additional 70. And the other big reason is that despite Baylor blocking a field goal and TCU missing another on their own, Baylor didn't take advantage of their own touchdown opportunities. One came on an interception in the end zone, and the other at the very end was intercepted in the TCU half of the field, when all Baylor needed is a field goal to take the lead and win the game. Alright then, 7-2, who's next? Number 8, Oklahoma, who has beaten Baylor in 7 straight seasons going into this game. Oklahoma, who has been to the college football playoffs 4 times in the last 6 years. Oklahoma, who is led by future number 1 pick Caleb Williams at quarterback. Oklahoma, who has won the past 6 Big 12 championships. Okay, here goes nothing.
They win the game 27-14. Let's get the party started in Waco.
Actually, that one went way better than expected. Alright, now it's time for Kansas State. K-State comes into this one in the middle of a decent season of their own, having a 7-3 record. This game ended up being a defensive battle. Baylor held a 17-7 lead at the end of the first half, but suffered a large loss during this half. On an 11-yard run, Bohannon injures his hamstring and will need to miss the remainder of the game. This forced Blake Shapen to take to the field and lead the Bears for the remainder of the game. He did well in his limited action in the first half, finishing the drive he entered to score a field goal, extending the lead to 10 points. The second half, Baylor turned the ball over 3 times, once with a fumble and twice on downs, and only scored 1 field goal. Now, thankfully for Baylor, their defense was able to bend but not break. K-State taking 2 close-range field goals this half and only making 1. This left Baylor with a 20-10 lead with just a few minutes remaining. K-State was able to get the drive going with a few completions by Skylar Thompson, bringing the ball into Baylor territory with just under 4 minutes remaining. Unfortunately for the Wildcats, Thompson was injured on this completion, and that forced them to rely on freshman Jaron Lewis. On Lewis's first drop back to pass, he throws it straight to the Baylor defensive back, Walcott. All that was left to do for Baylor was to milk the rest of the clock, and they were able to do so, sealing the deal with a 4th down conversion on the Abram Smith run. Going into the last game of the regular season, Baylor is 9-2. Their final matchup is at home against the Texas Tech Red Raiders. Texas Tech is 6-5, so they are not an opponent to sleep on. Blake Shapen is starting at quarterback in this one, with Bohannon continuing to recover from the injury. Let's just go ahead and skip to the 4th quarter on this one, when it gets interesting, shall we? Baylor holds a 17-10 lead at the beginning of the quarter, but is quickly able to add on to that by capping off a drive with a field goal. On the following Texas Tech drive, they ride the big play machine with a big run that would have been a touchdown if it wasn't for Xavier White stepping out of bounds. And then a 38-yard completion to a wide-open McLean Mannix scores that touchdown. On the following Baylor drive, they did their job and slowly drove the ball down the field, and capped it off with a Blake Shapen touchdown pass to Ben Sims. Down 10 points, Texas Tech does exactly what they need and score on a 75-yard catch and run by the tight end Travis Kuntz. Baylor gets the ball back up 3 points with just under 7 minutes remaining. What can they do with the ball? Shapen gets off this magical play that somehow avoids a huge loss to set up a 4th down and 1, which is able to be converted by Abram Smith by maybe the length of the football. A pair of strong runs by Blake Shapen and then Tristan Ebner bring the Bears down to the red zone. A strong effort by the Red Raiders defense, and now they are back on 4th down. And this time, Texas Tech is able to stop them to regain possession of the ball with just over a minute on the clock. Tech gets to work, but has some struggles moving the ball as far as they need it. They are given a chance with a 19-yard completion over the middle and run up to the line to spike it with 4 seconds left. This is it. Last play. 53-yard field goal attempt. If they make it, we're going to overtime. Miss it, and Baylor brings their win total to 10. Here we go.
Jonathan Garibay. No good.
Baylor moves up to 10-2, and now all eyes are in Stillwater to watch Bedlam. Baylor has 2 losses in conference play, while Oklahoma and Oklahoma State have 1 each. Due to tiebreaker rules, the result Baylor fans are hoping for is simple. If Oklahoma loses, they will get their 2nd in-conference loss, and because Baylor won in the head-to-head, Baylor will play in the conference championship game. However, because Baylor lost to Oklahoma State in the regular season, a Cowboy loss here would mean nothing to them. So Baylor fans are now the biggest Oklahoma State fans in the world. Let's tune in over there. What's this? OK State is winning, that's nice. But Caleb Williams has the ball and... oh no. William gets off an insane 56-yard run and sets up the Sooners in scoring position with 34 seconds to go. Okay, Cowboy defense, show us what you got.
They get it off. Williams in traffic. Dropped. Sacked by Colin Oliver.
Thank you, Oklahoma State. This sets up Baylor to take on Oklahoma State at AT&T Stadium in the Big 12 championship game next week. Now, there is a lot on the line in this game, especially for OK State. Being ranked number 5 in the country, they're playing for a potential playoff spot in the 4-team playoffs. But this is a video about Baylor, so who cares? Let's beat them. Baylor had an amazing first half and was close to having an even better first half if it wasn't for a blocked field goal to end the half. Either way, they go into the second half up 21-6, and that is when things got real interesting. Oklahoma State started off with the ball and got the drive going until Spencer Sanders threw an interception to the Bears, and they take over at their 27-yard line. On that ensuing drive, Baylor gets aggressive and goes for it on 4th and 1 in their own territory, but Blake Shapen is not able to find a receiver and throws it out of bounds. With great field position, the Cowboys move the ball closer and closer to the goal line until Dominic Richardson is able to make his way into the end zone. A Baylor punt on their following drive gives OK State the ball back with some momentum. Unfortunately for the Cowboys, Spencer Sanders throws his 4th interception of the game. although it's really tough to blame this one on Sanders. Baylor, with a great opportunity to score more, comes up empty, missing a 39-yard field goal. The following Oklahoma State drive is a 3-and-out, and the Cowboys punted away. Let's see if the Big 12 Special Teams Player of the Year, Tristan Ebner, can make anything happen.
Baylor's defense has been on point.
Muffed punt again this week. And it looked like the Cowboys have it. They do.
Well, that was certainly something happening. The Cowboys get the ball back, and now they're on the Baylor 30-yard line. And after a terrific catch by Desmond Jackson, they're at the Baylor 1-yard line on 1st and goal. Baylor turns them away once. Baylor turns them away a second time. Baylor turns them away a third time, this time with some help on the botched handoff. This forces Oklahoma State to kick the chip shot field goal to cut the lead to 5 points. Next 2 drives are punts by both teams, and Baylor now has the ball with 3 minutes and 46 seconds left on the clock, and just want to waste the remainder of the time in regulation. First down, they lose a couple of yards, and the Cowboys call a timeout. Blake Shapen is sacked on 2nd down, and another timeout is called. 3rd down, Shapen's pass is caught, but not for enough yards, and Oklahoma State calls their final timeout of the second half. Baylor punter Isaac Power gets off an absolute rocket of a punt to pin the Cowboys back at their own 10-yard line. The Cowboys get to work and go the length of the field slowly but surely. This march down the field takes 13 plays and sets them up with a 3rd and 3 at the Baylor 6-yard line. Spencer Sanders has a one-on-one matchup at the corner of the end zone and throws it up for grabs. Baylor DB Mark Milton commits pass interference, so now 1st and goal at the Baylor 2-yard line. Game on the line, season on the line, conference championship on the line. 1st and goal, the run is cut just short of the goal line. Now 2nd and goal, and the run is stuffed. 3rd and goal, and a great defensive play breaks up the pass. 4th and goal, 30 seconds left, one more play to secure the Big 12 title. You know what? I'll say it. Welcome to a moment in history.
In all likelihood, and perhaps the CFP. Jackson trying to turn the corner, and he did not get there.
Jerron McVay matches Desmond Jackson in an absolute dead sprint to the corner and forces the running back out of bounds, inches short of the end zone. In the shadow of their own end zone, the need to end the game was a bit more complicated, but was simple enough to get done. In a year they were predicted to win only 4 games, Baylor wins the Big 12 championship. The year following a 2-win season, Baylor wins 11 games and tops a Power 5 conference. Hold on, everyone. I'm getting an important phone call. The season's not over? Baylor still has a bowl game to play? And it's against Ole Miss in the Sugar Bowl? Okay, great. I'll let the audience know. Baylor is now playing in the Sugar Bowl against the number 8 ranked Ole Miss Rebels from the SEC. Bears get this one started the right way, intercepting the pass from Matt Corral on the 2nd play of the game to set the tone on this contest. Ole Miss has an opportunity later in the 1st quarter at the Baylor 21, but back-to-back sacks forces a long field goal attempt, which is ultimately missed. Perhaps most important, the 2nd sack takes Matt Corral out of the game. Now in the 2nd quarter, while the game is still scoreless, Ole Miss is at the Baylor 12-yard line threatening to take the lead. Luke Altmaier is now in the game at quarterback after the Corral injury, and he has his pass batted at the line and intercepted by Al Walcott, who takes it all the way to the house to get the first points of the game. Now, for the rest of the first half, I hope you like punts. Ole Miss punt. Baylor punt. Ole Miss punt. Baylor punt. Ole Miss punt. End of the half. And if you missed the punts, the second half starts off like this. Baylor punt. Ole Miss punt. Baylor punt. Ole Miss touchdown? Okay, that was a great pass and catch there by Ole Miss. Tie game. That finally gets this game going a bit, as the next Baylor drive, they finally get some third down conversions. 2nd and 1 from the Ole Miss 30, and Bohannon feels confident to take a shot at the end zone, but is picked off by Miles Battle. Now it's Ole Miss's turn to drive down the field, getting a 3rd down conversion and a 4th down conversion in the process. In the red zone, they decide to settle for a field goal, but barely misses it, and the score remains level at 7 in the 4th quarter. Baylor takes over, and productive runs by Smith and Ebner bring the Bears to the Ole Miss side of the field. Baylor gets off with a jet motion handoff, fooling the Ole Miss defense and the cameraman for a second, in a 48-yard touchdown run to take the lead. Next Ole Miss drive, and Baylor gets another interception to give them great field position and a great opportunity to extend their lead. This drive gets capped off with a screen pass by Bohannon to Tyquan Thornton to make the score 21-7. The Rebels break off a great run into Baylor territory, and now Ole Miss is threatening. Another 1st down, and now Ole Miss is at the 26-yard line. Ole Miss incompletion. Another Ole Miss incompletion. 3rd down, and the Ole Miss pass is batted down at the line. And finally, a sack by Baylor. Turnover on downs. What can Baylor do with a 14-point lead and 5 minutes remaining? Ole Miss uses their 1st and 2nd timeouts on the 1st set of downs, and then Baylor is able to convert a 3rd and 4. This allows them to burn precious time off the clock, even though they did need to punt it away on 4th down. Desperation time for Ole Miss, and after a couple of 1st downs, they're at midfield. They need to go for it on 4th down and 12, and Baylor comes up with the sack to secure the victory. One final kneel down is taken, and Baylor wins the 2021 Sugar Bowl. Sugar Bowl champions and Big 12 champions, after having their own fans write them off at the beginning of the season. This talent-filled team would have 6 players taken in the subsequent 2022 NFL Draft. They weren't able to follow up the season very well in 2022, unfortunately only going 6-6, but what we all remember is the highs of 2021. In 2021, this Baylor team completely came out of nowhere to win the Big 12, and then followed that up with a New Year's 6 bowl game victory. Thanks for watching this video into the end. If you watched it all the way, I hope that means you enjoyed it. So please drop a like and subscribe to my channel, and leave a comment on your thoughts and memories about this season, or if you have any ideas for a future video. Thank you.